Today, I would like to welcome our facilitators. So who's going to help us with the topic? So we have Robin Day. Robin, maybe give us a little hello.
Wrong hand. There we go.
Robin is the Associate Dean for Accounting, Finance, and Insurance. Robin has been at BCIT for almost 20 years, 19 actually, and is a wealth of knowledge, a really good person to ask questions to, knows a lot about the Institute and the School of Business and Media programs. We also have Jeff from the library, who's our resource person, reference librarian for business administration and financial management. Jeff, give us a little hi. And as well, joining us is Linda from the library as well. And Linda is a reference librarian for marketing, broadcast, and digital arts. And tonight, again, they will talk to us about the library, which you have a lot of things that you can access through your online studies. As a reminder, all our courses, most of our courses in the School of Business are online in the fall, especially for PTS. And you'll learn today about how to access a library, a few things to know, which will be really useful. So without any further ado, I guess I'll turn it over to you, Robin.
Oh, I get to go first? Well, sort of.
Sort of. Sorry, you can introduce Jeff, I guess, eh?
That's okay.
And I'll introduce Linda.
We'll let Jeff and Linda do the introductions of themselves just very quickly, in case you're wondering about the academic integrity part of things. That will follow the library part. So we'll get into the library first, and I'll turn it over to you, Jeff.
Thanks. Actually, I am going to turn it over to Linda. She's going to do the
very brief introduction.
Yes. We'll just keep passing the ball around here.
Yeah, so welcome to the library website. It is available, and a lot of the services that we provide are available on and off campus. Services like tutoring and Ask Away, Ask Away being our reference service, the APA citation guides that we'll point out, and the research guides too. They're all available on our website online. Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, and so again, thanks for joining us, everyone. To start out today, actually, what we'd like to do is to get to know you a little bit better, and because Linda and I in particular are talking about the library, we'd like to know what your relationship is with the library. So we're going to start with a little poll. Just a three option poll. A is you're a hardcore library user. C, don't know the library. B, you're somewhere in between. So can we have, Natalie, that poll come up, please? And yeah, thanks. And please select the option that describes you, and you can think about your school library. If you're coming back to BCIT, you can think about us, think about your public library. What describes you and the library? Got one response so far. Okay, we're going right down the middle so far with libraries are cool, sometimes. Okay, I think we have some people who are going to take a pass on this one, I think, if we have 8 participants. So just to show, we do have 3 people who've said that they are Bs. So it's like kind of use the library when you need it. And that is pretty typical. Usually, actually, most of the responses come down there. I hope by the end of this session, you're all going to be As. All right. Yeah, so that's okay. So let's move along. I'm going to start by talking about some of the services that the library offers and where you can find them. So on the screen right now, I have a shot of the library homepage itself. The URL is at the top left corner. If you are the type of person that likes to just sit back and watch me go through some of these sources, resources, that's fine. If you want to get on the browser of your choice and check it out yourself and start clicking through some of these resources, that'd be cool too. So supporting your success at the library. Actually, we have a number of services, so I'm just really going to talk about two main ones. The one is research help, the kind of the reference help. When we're on campus, Linda and I spend part of our days at the reference desk answering questions about how to do citations, how to find peer-reviewed articles, how to even start a paper. We are still doing that, but that is all online. So Ask Us and Ask Away are the two main services. Ask Us is basically where you can email us, and we, with a question, ebrarian@bcit.ca. We will get back to you with a question, and if it's a little more involved, sometimes we refer you to the liaison librarian in your area. It's usually one of us anyway. There's one more librarian who does business stuff. And Ask Away is our chat service. So that is not only BCIT, that's province-wide. So there's no guarantee you get a BCIT librarian, but if we're available, we usually pick it up. And then you engage in a real-time conversation about your information needs. So those two main services. Ask Away doesn't start until September 8th, but then it's 9 till 9 Monday and Friday, and they've got slightly reduced hours on the weekend. So look out for that when you're working on your paper and you're a bit stuck finding resources. Now, turning to tutoring, that's more involved with if you are working on, you're having trouble with particular concepts and you need to prepare for an exam or a quiz. So the Learning Commons is the broad unit within the library. So basically in April and May, they hire some really good students who've just excelled in their first year at BCIT, and they're going to be coming back to tutor. And so we hire them, pardon me, and they just give advice, and they will explain some of the key concepts that you need to know in your course. The Writing Center also does the same thing, but of course it's looking more at essays. So there are two things with the Writing Center. You can actually have in-time conversation with a tutor, or you can use Right Away, and that is a free service as well. And you do have to register for that, but once you've registered, you upload your essay and you get responses back in 2 or 3 days. All right, and usually they tell you 3 things that you need to know about your paper and that you need to improve. All right, so those are two of the main services. There are many more that I could talk about, but those are 2. Now you're probably thinking, so what about the books? Where are the resources that I need? Your first stop for that is probably going to be First Search. Now again, this is from the library homepage. First Search, we call it Google for the library, or at least I do, just because it's the main entryway. It's a good, provides you a good bird's eye view of the resources that we have, but by no means all of them. And sometimes it's actually hard to find or impossible to find the stuff that you really need for a specific assignment. All right. So, but what you can do, so in First Search, if you've got our page open, you can put in your keywords, and what will happen is you'll get a page like this on the right. That's the results page. I've put in a search here for organizational culture, and I get 3.5 million results. So just like Google, way too many to be of any use. Now, the nice thing is that they do suggest some other terms that might be helpful, and they also suggest a particular database because it's a business type topic that is really helpful for this area. All right, so you can narrow this down. to stuff that's online, which of course is going to be helpful this coming September. Click on on the menu on the left, go to full text online, and go to and if you click on book ebooks, then you're going to get the ebooks that are related to that. So that's where you're going to start, I think, for some of your more general searches. If you come across some physical books, so actually 80% of our collection is online, but if what you need is actually part of that 20%, it's a physical book that you actually need, we will have a process in place for you to pick that up at the library. So just click request when you come across a book, and we will have I can't talk about the process in detail right now, it's still being developed, but we'll have something in place for you. And I did want to mention too, on any of these resources that you find in First Search, on the right hand side here, hope you can see, there's little quotation marks. That is the citation tool. So we're going to be, Robin's going to be talking more, and Linda as well, about citation. But for a quick fix for an APA citation for your reference list, that is available there. And over to Linda.
So on the far left-hand side, we have of the front page of our library website, we have a heading called Research Guides. And so if you were to click on that, you would open up the all the different research guides. So these are the research guides for business. And so we have like accounting, business, which is business admin. We have entrepreneurship down here. We have marketing, and then we have others like operations management. So over on the far right-hand side, here's an example of one of the business guides, and this is the general business admin guide. And you'll see the URL at just under the dark blue heading. And then here is a picture of the front page of the guide. And here's a picture of Jeff, who is your business admin librarian. And then over across the page or tabs, and these tabs are clickable tabs. So not only is there this front page, but there are many pages behind this page, and just click on the tab. Now in the center of the guide or some of the suggested really awesome databases that we have in business. And so that's about it. Over to you, Jeff.
Yeah. So I actually changed this question from yesterday. I think it was not so clear yesterday, so I'm going to try this one. I'm going to invite everyone to respond to this question: is why is relying exclusively on information on the web a bad idea? So I'd like you to put your comments on that in the chat. All right, so why would it not be such a great idea to just use resources that you can Google? And if you could share that in the chat box, there is no wrong answer. Mary Moss says some information in depth can't be found on the web, and that is true. Sometimes they just skirt over information, or they give the highlights of a more in-depth study. That is actually very true. Anybody else have some thoughts about why you wouldn't just Google? Yep. Sabrina says the information may not be correct. That is right. So there's the problem with accuracy. Like so a question you have to ask yourself with Wikipedia, even something like that, who is checking it to make sure that it's accurate? Jay says most of the time there's no citation, very minimal information. I rely more on HBR. Okay, well, I was going to mention HBR actually. That is the gold standard for, as Linda and I know, it is the gold standard for business information. So that's right. And I'm glad you brought up the point about citation, because we're going to talk about citation for yourself, for your writing, but it's also very important that the resources that you use share where they got their information, right? It makes you trust them more, for sure. Well, I'm going to show you one of our key databases. Linda mentioned that we have a lot of them, and we really do. So I'm not going to go through all of them tonight. It'd be impossible. But the main workhorse for business resources is Business Source Complete. You'll find this one, actually most universities and colleges, I think, will have this one, and even I've noticed it on some public library sites as well. Going back to why not use Google, you get what you paid for, even in the information world. And so Business Source Complete is a service we subscribe to. I think HBR is actually part of this. And thanks, Linda. Yeah. And it's really kind of where you should start. And another thing to keep in mind with that is that your instructors are expecting you to use academic sources, right? So Linda and I did a session with Carolyn early, I guess, in the spring, right? And Carolyn was very clear to her class. She doesn't want just any old information that they can find. It had to be academic. So this is where you would start for that. Very good search functionality as well. So you can see this is you're looking at their main search, advanced search page, and you can narrow it down. You can see you've got cell phones, and that's the subject term. So everything that comes up is going to be exactly about that. And then you can narrow it by geographic terms. And actually there's a number of other fields as well that you can narrow it down with. All right. And when you do that search, instead of getting 1 million or 2 resources that may or not be useful, you get, in this case, 176, as you can see from the page on the right. And the very first one is actually a very useful one, right? So if you're looking for mobile phones in Canada, here we are. Here's the industry profile. And you can see that you get a description of it, a suggestion of more subject terms, and then you can download the PDF or the HTML. I'll also mention here again that this tool has citation functionality as well. So you click on that title and you go through and you can get the APA citation. So very good, very powerful, and the information is very reliable. It doesn't mean you have to trust everything. You've still got to put your thinking cap on and think, is this actually what I need? But I would say Business Source Complete is a really good place to start for your general research. And if you do more sessions with your specific classes, we can show you a lot more as well. Okay, and over to Linda about citation.
So there are many citation styles. So when you're referring to a document, whether it's an article, a book, or a website, or a blog, you would refer to it within a report and at the end of the report in what we call a reference list. Now, as I said, there are many citation styles. The School of Business at BCIT tends to use the American Psychological Association style, or APA for short. And so the library has created guides. We have created the APA citation and the APA style guide for business sources, but we can't include all of the examples. And so we have links to citation style guides from UBC, SFU, Purdue in Chicago, which is an excellent and very reputable source of citation styles. Okay. Next, Jeff.
Oh, yes, sorry. Did it again.
Don't worry. We're still friends. So over on the left-hand side is the blue APA style guide, which is the general guide. And then the yellow guide is the specific style guide for business sources. Now, the blue one will answer a lot of your, probably 80% of your questions. But the yellow one is created because we have examples. There are databases like Business Source Complete that has, you could click on a button and you can, it'll show you the citation for that particular article or ebook. And those are really great to use, but you should also check them against the style guides to make sure they're up to date and accurate. Many of the citations in the Business Source Complete were done before the 7th edition came out of the APA. And so they're sort of maybe one edition behind in how they're citing. So here on the right-hand side is an example of the start of the examples for the databases, and here is the one for Business Source Complete. Here's a country report and a SWOT analysis citation. Okay. So over to you, Jeff. Oh, I think that's it.
Yeah,
So we finished our talk. So if anyone wants to ask questions, we'd be happy to answer them right now.
Maybe we're good.
Yeah, maybe while people are typing, I can say thank you to Jeff and Linda for providing those valuable library resources. I certainly was very thankful for the various online databases that I used when I was doing my master's. It was far more palatable for me because I'm not a library regular. For me to go and search through the library to find that one or two reference that I need, that was just never on for me. But once I discovered library databases, online databases, I just loved it. I was researching everything and throwing all kinds of references in there. So the online databases are an amazing resource for sure. And far more reliable than the web, which, yeah, you just never know what you're going to get in that box of chocolates.
And you helped us acquire Capital IQ, which is one more very impressive database that was not free.
Yeah, I haven't had any time to get on and play with that one yet, but Capital IQ, folks, if you are a numbers weenie at all, if you really like digging into financials and looking at information in various sectors or public or even some private companies I find are listed there. The Capital IQ database is an absolute gold mine. So I'm looking forward to steering some of my strategic planning students into the Capital IQ world this year. I think it's going to be very, very useful. So yes, thank you to Jeff for helping make that happen as well.
I see there is a question from Jay about e-commerce 2019 Business Technology Society. I can try to dig that up for you. The only thing I'll say, so you're probably thinking about an ebook there, Jay. And Linda, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe there's a 2-week, until we're within 2 weeks. What day are we here? 25th. I'm wondering if they have access yet to the library stuff that's online, because I know there's like a 2-week before and after a term where students might not have access to it. But tell you what, maybe while Robin is talking, I will try to find this book and see if we have the ebook.
I think, oh, here's something from Jay. Yeah.
So it looks like Jay can access the library, but Where did that show up? Oh, there we are, but can't find the book. Okay.
Okay. Well, I can take a poke around while you are talking, Robin. How about that? And I can.
Sounds fair, as long as you don't get too distracted and forget to change the slide for me, Jeff.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You're on the hook for that still.
I'm already being negligent. Okay.
To be one more question in there from Mary Ma. Where can I find the Business Source Complete database?
I can post the link to the business libguide.
Yeah.
And that would be like the best place to find it. How about that? And everybody can access it that way.
Yeah, and all you have to do is type in your student number and your password to get into the database when you can access them. So I don't know if they're quite available yet, Jeff. It depends how, if it's 2 weeks or, I don't know yet.
Yeah, you'd have to log in and see if you're active yet. That's the only thing. The library, so it's connected with enrollment. And so you might not actually have access to the database until exactly, I think it's like literally 2 weeks before. So if you just wait a couple more days, maybe. But that's the link to the LibGuide, that the research guide that Linda was talking about, and Business Source Complete is kind of front and center here.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, Robin. Here we go.
That's all right. Well, let's spend a little bit of time talking about academic integrity, and then we'll come back to that one and see if Jeff made any headway in finding that book or any other information that he's looking for. So, in terms of academic integrity, a few things that I want to talk about this evening. I'm not going to read a bunch of material to you. I'm not going to sit here and read the BCIT policies, because by the time I get to the end, I'll be asleep, and that'll be a rather boring webinar. So I will point you in the direction of the relevant policies. We'll talk a little bit about why academic integrity is so important. And then, well, you can read the rest of the slide. I do want to draw your attention to the quote from Michelle Obama, because that really rings true to me, because when I was younger, I used to play a lot of board games with my siblings, and hey, if there was an opportunity to cheat, I was all in. But looking back now, I don't get a lot of satisfaction out of looking back and thinking, wow, I really kicked my brother's butt playing that game of Monopoly, because I know I didn't win fair and square. And I think the same goes for just about everything in life. If you don't work hard to earn it, it doesn't feel quite the same. And not only do the feelings differ, but people's perceptions of what you've earned can differ as well. And we'll talk a little bit later, or I will talk, I guess, a little bit later about the effect on your credential when other people cheat. So we'll get into that as well. So the first thing I'd like to do is a quick poll here in terms of which student you are, and I'll share with you which student I was after you do the poll. And so I know there are 8 of us in the room, but I think only 3 are participants. And so once we get 3 votes, we're good to go here. And you can be honest. We're not going to trace this back and figure out which program you're in and let your program head or your associate dean know that you think playing by the rules is for losers. So, but do remember, Robin is associate dean for accounting, finance, and insurance, and Caroline is business administration. So if you're in one of those 2 programs, yeah, you might want to be careful. I'm kidding already. How are we doing? Have we got the answers yet? While we wait for Natalie to put that up, I'm a number 2. I sometimes get sloppy. Oh, there we go. Look at this. I'm just like all 3 of you, or both of you that answered, I suppose. Sometimes I get a little bit sloppy. I get excited in the thrill of the moment, and I'm writing a document, and I hammer out the information I want, and then I get to the end of the document and it's like, oh, I didn't reference that paragraph. Now, where did I find that information? And I have to go back and backtrack. And sometimes I don't even think to do that part. I completely forget. Now, when that happens, is it a violation of academic integrity? Is that a violation of BCIT policy? Well, let's continue on down the list here. And we'll find out shortly if all of us should have been drawn and quartered in the center of town square for accidentally forgetting our sources once in a while. So Jeff, I'll get you to click the button if you would, please. And so when it comes to BCIT policy, there's a couple of policies that are directly relevant here. One is policy 5104, the Student Code of Academic Integrity. And that one talks about everything in the classroom, all of the academic work that you're doing. And there's also the Student Code of Conduct, which covers some non-academic issues that can also relate very closely to academic integrity. And that one, I believe, is policy 5102, even though I forgot to put the reference there. I know there's a link to policy 5102 at the end of this webinar, so you'll be able to see what that one looks like if you so desire. So again, I'm not going to read these policies to you, but as a BCIT student, you are absolutely responsible for being in compliance with these policies. You don't want to get on the wrong side of any of these, because the consequences, as I'll get to in a few minutes here, can be pretty severe. So you don't want to have that sort of thing happen during your time at BCIT. So what sort of things are we talking about that are prohibited under those two policies? Well, some of them are pretty obvious. Plagiarism, we've already talked a little bit about. And Jeff and Linda have given you some really good resources on the library's website and in the study guides to help you make sure that you cite those sources and that you use the APA referencing properly. It's pretty cool that those tools will actually give you a reasonably well formatted reference. As I think Linda said, sometimes they're not perfect, but I'll tell you what, if you're writing a report for me, now every instructor differs, but if you're writing a report for me and your APA reference is not perfect, I might not even notice. But if it is perfect, I will celebrate on your behalf, because it's always nice to see when it's done correctly. Of course, cheating in an exam, an assignment, a project, any kind of evaluation, any cheating or attempt to cheat, or even some inadvertent things can get you into hot water. Let's say, for example, on the front of your exam paper, it says cell phones must be put away and in your backpack at the side of the room. You get up to go to the washroom midway through the exam, and as you're walking out of the room, you absent-mindedly pull your cell phone out of your pocket to check your text messages while you're in the washroom. No intent to cheat, but sorry, you've just violated academic integrity policy, because not only do you have your cell phone with you during an exam, but you're also accessing it. Even though you have good intentions, you could still be found to have violated the academic integrity policy. Other things that can get you into some hot water here: falsifying, misrepresenting, trying to gain an academic advantage. And a lot of people don't really know what that means, but I'll use an example that I've seen in the movies once or twice, where students are assigned a project and it's a little bit competitive. Group A wants to do better than Group B, so they send somebody over to the library to check out all the books on the topic so that nobody else can get to those resources. A little different with ebooks nowadays, but it's still a good example. What that is trying to disadvantage other students in order to gain an advantage yourself. And that is, once again, a violation of that academic integrity policy. So you don't want to go there. Over on the non-academic side, assisting someone else, so helping someone else to cheat. And again, even if it's inadvertent, false information, false identification. So the old fake doctor's note trick, you get caught doing that, that is non-academic dishonesty or a violation of the non-academic policy and can be a serious problem, as can any violation of institute policies. A good example that's pretty topical these days of a violation of institute policies, smoking, vaping, smoking weed. It's legal now, but you can't do it on campus. You certainly can't vape or smoke in any buildings. And well, we won't be on campus this fall, so that doesn't really matter, but those institute policies are all important and you need to stay on the right side of those. So why does all this matter? Why is academic integrity so important? And the quote on the right-hand side from Warren Buffett is pretty accurate. If I'm looking for an employee, certainly when I was in the private world, in the real world, as some of us refer to it, when I was looking for a new employee, intelligence and energy and integrity were all very, very important. And as Warren Buffett says, if they don't have the last one, don't worry about the first two. So integrity can definitely make or break your career. And as I mentioned in the intro, the reputation of your program will directly affect the value of your credential. So what does that mean? And I'll pause for a minute and let the folks that are here answer that one for me. How can the program reputation affect the value of your credential? So what happens if the word is out on the street that people who go to BCIT can get away with cheating? They're able to open their books and look things up during exams. They're able to talk to one another during quizzes without a problem. How does that affect the value of your credential? Do you think that enhances the value of the credential that you're earning at BCIT, or does it make it worth less? So one answer, we will never get hired at all. That's definitely a possibility, Jay. Reputation is paramount. Yes, that is your foot in the door. So if you walk out of BCIT with a diploma in accounting or finance or marketing or business administration, that diploma, that credential is your foot in the door. And if somebody looks at that credential and says, well, yeah, you could have got that out of a box of Cracker Jack, or you could have just sent away to mail order because there's so much cheating at BCIT, it doesn't matter. Chances are you're not going to get your foot in the door. You're not going to get hired using that credential. So we want to make sure that the credentials that you earn maintain their value, and that employers look at them and they know that you worked hard to get that credential, and therefore you are worth considering as a possible employee. What about the other side of it? What if it's you that has done the cheating, but you don't get caught? So what happens if you don't get caught and you manage to cheat your way through a quiz, a class, a course, an exam, a credential? So the first thing is, let's say it's a quiz. Well, what happens next time when you face a similar question on an exam? Will you be able to answer that question correctly? Probably not, because you cheated the first time through. What about in the workplace? You cheat your way through your tax course, and one of the first things that your boss gives you when you start work in February of next year is a tax return. And they say, well, I know you did this in your course at BCIT, so go ahead, show me what you've got. Are you going to be able to walk down the hall and ask a colleague who maybe went to BCIT as well to help you out? Will they respect you knowing that you cheated? Will they help you knowing that you cheated your way through that course? They're probably not going to, because your cheating devalued their credential. And of course, there's always the possibility that a classmate will report you. And I had that situation yesterday, it was yesterday, as a matter of fact, where I received an email from a student saying, you know what, one of my classmates has been cheating. The instructor hasn't caught them, but I have evidence on my cell phone that is very damning. And they provided that evidence, that information, and that student is in some serious trouble. Of course, if you do cheat and get caught, the consequences can vary from a warning, simply telling you that you shouldn't have done that. Maybe in the case of accidental plagiarism, you forget to cite a source, that might be the extent of it. You might just get a warning, a grade of 0 on an assignment or an exam. And of course, that can go right through to, some people say the worst case scenario is expulsion. For my money, the worst case scenario is refused references. Because if you graduate from BCIT and not a single one of your instructors is willing to give you an employment reference because they all know that you cheated multiple times throughout the program, employers are probably not going to want to spend a lot of time with you. So long story short, folks, it's not worth it. The consequences are pretty serious. And of course, if you ever had a second offense, well, the consequences escalate. So things get more and more serious if you get caught more than once. So next up, let's see how much you know and how much you've learned. A couple of these things I've mentioned during this chat. And so which of these is not a violation of BCIT policy? Which of these things can you do, if any? So forgetting to cite a source in a report, allowing another student to see your homework, selling research completed during a school project, asking another student to borrow a pen during a quiz. And I've read those out of sequence, by the way. Or are all of these violations? Would every single one of these things get you into trouble if you were caught doing them? So we'll give you a few seconds to get your answers in. And I think I've already talked about forgetting to cite a source enough that you probably know that that one is a violation. Asking somebody to borrow a pen during a quiz, that sounds pretty harmless, doesn't it? What about selling research? Can you do that? And let me clarify a little bit. It's your own research. It was your own school project, not a classmate's school project that you managed to steal a copy of. That probably wouldn't go over so well. So, are we ready to reveal the answers, Natalie? Ooh, we have a 50-50 split between allowing another student to see your homework. That's sort of a good answer, because just allowing another student to see it might not be a problem. Problem is if they use it at all. So you really shouldn't. You want to protect your answers, protect your homework, make sure nobody else gets a copy of it. And even if it's inadvertent, it can cause you problems. I had two students early in the summer who had to come and see me because they had submitted identical homework. As it turned out, one of them did the homework assignment. The other one, their computer was broken, and so they borrowed their buddy's computer to do their own homework. They accidentally submitted the buddy's homework as their own. At least that was their story, and they stuck to it. Unfortunately, I had to assume that they knew what they were doing, and both of them were given the same consequence, which was 0 on that homework assignment. And unfortunately, about 3 weeks later, they were back. It had happened again. Long story short, they both failed the course with a 1F as their final grade. All of these are violations. Unfortunately, that one's not correct either. You are able to sell your own research that you complete during a school project. Now, the big caveat here, it has to be your own. If it's part of a group project, you can't do that. If it's someone else's research, you can't do that. But let's say you do some research and you come up with a brilliant idea for a new product and you don't have time to put that into action yourself because you're busy going to BCIT. Well, you could sell that research, you could sell that product to someone else and make some profit from it. So that one is technically not a violation. I'm glad to see nobody chose asking to borrow a pen during a quiz. Talking during a quiz is definitely off limits. Your best bet would be to put your hand in the air and say, Robin, can I borrow a pen from somebody else? Mine just died and I only have one. So that won't get you into trouble. Okay, one more quick poll before we hit the road tonight. And so this one is titled One More for the Road. And so which of these is not a violation? Same report in 2 different courses without permission, signing a fake doctor's note for another student, having another student sign you in at lecture, and last but not least, uploading last week's exam answers to a website. Or, I guess not quite last, but all of these are violations. So submitting the same report, yeah, economies of scale, is that such a bad thing? You do the work once, you get credit for it twice. Seems like a good idea. Fake doctor's note, yeah, that's one of those non-academic things, if I remember rightly. Having someone else sign you in at lecture. You partied hard all night and you just can't drag your backside out of bed, so you're going to get somebody else to sign you in when they take attendance at the lecture. Is that such a bad thing? Maybe. And then the fourth one, uploading last week's exam answers to a website. That one sounds kind of scary to me. That one sounds like a violation. So how did we do, Natalie? All are violations. Yeah, all are violations. Submitting the same report in 2 different courses without permission. You can use the same work in multiple courses, but you need to get permission first. If you think you might want to use some of the same information, then most instructors will say, yes, that's fine. But chances are you will be in some difficulty if you do it without permission and they find out about it. And we do usually find out about those things. It's fairly easy to spot most of the time. Of course, the fake doctor's note, having someone else sign you in and uploading exam answers to a website, all of those are violations of BCIT's academic integrity policy or the non-academic integrity as well. So the next slide, the last slide, is actually a list of resources for you. There we go. And so the first link is just to BCIT policies in general. So that will take you to a list of all of the policies, academic, non-academic, everything you never wanted to know about BCIT is on that page, or at least referenced on that page. Excuse me for a second here. And then the next 2, policy 5102, 5104, that's the student code of conduct and the academic integrity policy. And then a couple of other resources for you here. The School of Business and Media Student Information Exchange Learning Hub site. That site is something new that we've done this year, and it is really a wealth of information for new students coming to BCIT. These webinars, I think, are posted there, or at least links to them. There's all kinds of information for new BCIT students there. I won't even get into the details because there's too much to talk about in 2 or 3 minutes. And then finally, if you do end up on the wrong side of the law when it comes to academic integrity, BCIT's Student Association has a student advocates office. And the student advocates are really nice people, actually. They are there to help you in the event that you are accused of any kind of academic misconduct or non-academic misconduct. And so you can go to them and talk to them about what happened. And if they feel that you are in the wrong, that you should just take your lumps and get on with it, they'll tell you that. But if not, they will come to the people like Caroline and myself and say, you know what, this student got caught doing something they shouldn't have been doing, but we think you were a little harsh and we'd like you to reconsider. And we'll have those conversations with the student advocate, and every once in a while they convince us that we were a little too heavy-handed and maybe we need to back off a little bit. So they are there as a resource for students. They're there to help you, and don't hesitate to reach out to them if you feel that you have not been treated fairly at any point in time. That's it for me. I'll hand it back to Caroline, and I'm not sure if we have any other questions or anything at all before we wrap it up for the night.
Oh, well, there's this one question that just appeared. Yeah, so there's other policies. I think the one that, Jay, the one that Robin mostly talked about are the one around academic integrity, but you're right, there's another link and there's lots of other policies like around student did you put the student conduct one there? So feel free to have a look at them for sure. Thanks, Jay, for mentioning that. So if you just type policies within the BCIT website, you'll see them all. Okay, yeah, so
sorry, I'll just jump in for a second, Caroline.
Yeah, absolutely.
The education, the policies listed under that title, education, those are probably the most relevant to students.
Yep.
You don't really need to worry about research or information management, human resources, that sort of thing. So primarily focus on education, student services related policies there. It doesn't hurt to open up each of those major categories and just have a look at the titles and see if there's anything there that interests you. It's fairly easy to look at the titles of those policies and know whether it's something that might relate to or be relevant to a student as well as someone working at BCIT.
Well, thank you, Robin. And I guess we're kind of a minute to 6 o'clock here, so I'll just wrap it up if that's okay with everybody. Thank you. That was a great discussion tonight. Always nice to also welcome people from outside the School of Business like Jeff and Linda. It's always nice to have guests that are help us lead those webinars. So thank you everybody for attending. Thank you to our guests. Let me just yeah, hopefully this was helpful for all of you. I do want to remind you of next week. We do have our last session is mostly focused on student stuff. So BC Student Association and student clubs, as PTS Association can provide for you. And there's a few clubs that you can be engaged with. This is going to be led by Susan Burgess, our Associate Dean for Digital Arts, Media and Design, and our marketing person, Associate Director Mark Chiarello, and we'll have a few students there as well. One thing that I wanted to put for you, and I'll put it in the chat here, is there's a space, let me just see here. There's a space that, oh, sorry, I want to send to all panelists and attendees. I just wanted to put a link to the student services. There's a new student success hub page that you can go access. So the link is there for you guys. So that's provided by the Student of Office Life. So you can certainly access that for additional information about your studies. And I think that's about it. Let me just see, there's a few last things that I wanted to make sure. No, I think that's about it. So thanks for a great session tonight. Any last words, Robin, Jeff, or Linda?
I'm all out of words. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So thanks everybody. Take care. We really look forward to seeing you in classes in September. We're gonna have a great time. All the instructors are working really hard to get ready for you. So until then, definitely take care of yourself and those around you, and see you guys next week or at the start of September. Thank you.